There's a story about a pottery class teacher. He's divided the class into two sections, and he told one half, he said, your only job is to make the most perfect pot. Make one pot. That is your entire job this semester. And he told the other class, your only job is to make as many pots as humanly possible.
Hmm.
And the group that did the quantity, their pots were so much better. Quantity itself takes on a quality of its own.
Yep,
Think about an army. Like you have an army big enough, it itself become has a quality of
exactly.
intensity, of intimidation, of all of it. So just doing more, better, new. Because I really didn't want to be like cold email marketing where it's very cold. I was like, there has to be a way to do personalization. So I stitched together a primitive version of what I do now, and it was working. And I was explaining this to a family friend of ours who is an entrepreneur, like $100 million exit type
Oh
entrepreneur.
wow, nice.
And I was like telling him, I'm so excited, I'm gonna get these deals.
Yeah.
And he just was like listening. He's quiet, he's very stoic. He's quiet. He's like, mm-hmm. I finished it. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, I think you're an idiot. I'm like, why? And he's like, why would you use this to buy a business when you can use this to help businesses grow? So that's kind of
Uh,
where I started. And again, looking back,
okay, hey Aaron, welcome to my startup podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure to see you since we first met a few weeks ago at one of my rooftop events. It's a beautiful evening, nice sunset. So, but yeah, it's good to see you again. It's good to catch up.
good seeing you again. Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Absolutely. And so as we talked about a few weeks ago, you're working on in a startup idea in the marketing space because that's what your background is, leveraging data to have effective marketing.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah.
you're right, and now you're starting an idea in that space. But before we even jump into that, do you mind just telling me more about your background, what brought you uh, to this point, working on this idea, but also just what makes you you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, born and raised in Boston, I've been living in New York for the last 3 to 4 years. A little bit about my background. My parents are Russian immigrants, so I was raised in a very Russian immigrant community, and a lot of immigrants, they start businesses. So, I was always surrounded by entrepreneurs, always surrounded by business owners. So, business was always something that I wanted to get into, was interested in when it was time to go to university. I really wanted to go to a school that was very focused on business, so I went to Bentley, and they have a really focused and good business program. And after I graduated, came to New York and spent the last decade in marketing. So first at American Express, and then moved over to JP Morgan Chase. So that's part of the story that kind of led me to starting this agency. But there's a little bit more detail there in terms of where the true spark came from. Because for a long time, I didn't actually have an idea of what I wanted to do. I kind of fell into this actually. And happy to go into that, but
Yeah.
yeah, my
Yeah.
background.
How did you, first off, yeah, what is your idea? We'll start there and then I'll start diving into some of the different
Sure.
guys you've taken.
Yeah, so I run an email marketing agency. What we really specialize in is using AI to conduct deep research on prospects. That allows us to find people who are a perfect fit for targeting. And then we use all of that research to craft human sounding personalized emails that convert at scale. And it's a completely done for you solution. So we book the meeting straight to your calendar, and then that allows you to focus, or you or your sales teams to focus entirely on demoing and closing instead of splitting your time prospecting.
So you mentioned human sounding. Is that like to say that it'll still be written by a human, but it'll just be very welcoming, or is it written by AI? Is that the
Good,
implication there?
good question. Good nuance there. So it depends, actually. So there are
Okay.
some markets where, and I am working with a set of developers on basically AI that completely writes the email, and it's trained on hundreds of thousands of emails and best practices.
Okay.
So there is a real nuance in making email sound handwritten because poorly done personalization kills rapport. Like if you identify the wrong thing or call the wrong thing. So you need a lot of research to make sure that it that you have a holistic picture. So there is a version where that we offer where it's more expensive because there's a lot more data enrichment involved, but
Hmm.
when you do it right, it can be much more effective. It's useful for people who have lower volume, higher value
I see.
targets that you hit. So you want each outreach attempt to be as human as possible. And then the human part is that's where it's trained on hundreds of thousands of emails. But let's move away from that. If you were what's called more of a typical case where your market is relatively responsive and you have a big market, it's all about how do you position your offer clearly, and that's where I come in. So I run digital marketing at scale at American Express, and so there are certain ways to communicate value that doesn't feel overforced or over salesy. You have a natural reason to reach out. A lot of times, the best way to understand if this email will perform well is would you respond to the email if you got it? And a lot of times that
Right.
comes down to like a simple equation of do you have a legitimate reason to reach out? And then can you convey your value prop clearly? And a lot of times you write emails like I start by writing emails like how would I have written this email basically, and then you backtrack into okay, well, what data point would I need in order to be able to write that? So that's a little bit of insight into how it writes. So it depends.
Yeah, no, I know firsthand from so I'm as some might know, working on a dental startup,
Yeah.
so software for dentists. Yeah, I mean it can be very tough to reach out to them. I mean you're just cold calling on dentists. They feel that you might be a scammer or something. They don't really have they have,
Yeah.
their focus is the patients. And it just you get the feeling that why can't they just give me one shot? I'm a small business owner trying to start the startup. I'm not doing anything bad here, right? I'm not running a scam. But then at
Yeah.
the same time, when you're like you said, when you're in the other person's shoes, you put yourself there. It's like probably 10 times a day I hang up on some random phone call that I get that I
Yep.
just know that's a scam. So it's like it really does. You change your perspective when you get into the other person's shoes. So I could see how that would help
Yeah,
to really
it
visualize
really
that.
does come down to, and I mean, I'm also very selective with the clients I work with because
Yeah,
a large part of it is the messaging. Part of it is, do you actually have an offer that people care about and you provide value?
right.
And then it's what I mentioned a moment ago, which is, can you find a reason to reach out? Like, is there a signal? And so that's why I do a lot of this is like part of it is the AI modeling to identify the right people. Part of it is AI modeling to also understand which data point would be best to reach out for this person.
I see.
So in your case, if you're doing a dental startup, maybe you can, and I don't know I don't know your value prop, but I'm assuming that there is like if you were to reach out manually, what would you actually hook onto? Hey, I saw that you have this, or hey, I saw that you're doing this. We solve this pain point actually. So having that natural reason to reach out, I think is a big part of it. And a lot of it's obviously test and learn. So
Okay, so you mentioned there's the two data points. One is who would be receptive, so you're looking at that, and then the other
yes.
is what data could I present that shows a good value proposition for the customer. And
Yes.
so on that first point, you said you're using AI to figure out who might be a receptive audience. How does that work?
Yeah, good question. So this is the modeling that I do. So I call it a scoring model. So there are a lot of dimensions that you can consider for who you should or shouldn't reach out to. So there are firmographic things like what is their position, what type of company they're in, how many employees do they have, what's their job title. And then there are additional elements, and these could be maybe they're engaging with some content on LinkedIn that's relevant to a topic so if it's the right person engaging with maybe dental automation and you sell an automation service, great. Or you sell an automation service to dentists and it's a person who is engaging in automation, whether it's dental automation specifically, but that shows
I see.
intent or shows an interest. Maybe it could be a company level signal, like they recently got funding. That's a very common one. It could, or they were published in a news article, or they're going to an event that you're going to. So that's where you have to blend firmographics, company level details, person level details, and what I do is I basically assign a weight to each of these variables depending on what we think would be the most important, and then you come up with a score. So to simplify it, it's like this person is a 8 out of 10 fit. So then great, we're going to take anyone who's an 8 or above out of 10 fit. and we're going to target them with your email marketing campaign. That's part of it. That's who are the right people to reach out to. And then the other part is, are you saying something relevant? And oftentimes it's the data point that you're using to identify the person, you can then use as a way to reach out, as a lead in to reach out.
And where are you getting the data to? So you're looking at different demographics, different behaviors. Are you getting
Yep.
this data from a certain data source, or various sources? Are you web scraping?
Good question. All of the above.
All of it.
There
Okay.
are for sure databases that house, let's call it prospects. So if you're targeting people who are in white collar industry, that like there are databases that have that. There are databases that have e-commerce company and they have a lot of information. What's their average, what products they sell, how much they sell it for. So there's a lot of information you can use there. You can scrape Google Maps if you're looking for brick and mortar. So there's a lot of databases where you can get, let's call it the beginning population. And then
Okay.
when it comes time to refining down that audience, sometimes it's stitching together sources. So I have sources that, for example, can identify engagement with certain topics on LinkedIn or certain engagement with keywords. So then we can cross-reference those. If not that, then you can also, yes, you can scrape websites as well, or you can scrape publicly available data. So I can deploy an agent to per client or per website, for example, say, can you go and figure out if this is present on their website, yes or no, or research their website, come up with a hypothesis as to what this person's pain point would be. So it really is a custom solution. And I think that's where this is what differentiates poor email outreach from quality. A lot of people, they just take a big list and then they send out a generic email. It's very cost effective in the sense that it takes very little money to do that. But the problem is you reach out to a lot of the wrong people. So you're wasting that outreach opportunity. And
Right.
it also will destroy your infrastructure because if you reach out to the wrong people, they'll mark you as spam and you'll burn your infrastructure. So
Mm,
doing all this upfront work, you really have to in today's age to do that because otherwise your campaigns just they won't be effective. The infrastructure will burn basically before you get anywhere if you don't really filter upfront and then be tactical with who you're reaching out to.
gotcha. And so when you're saying that you ruin your infrastructure, are you saying that if you mass send out emails and a lot of them go to the wrong target, the wrong audience, they mark you as spam, you'll like Google Gmail, for example, they'll mark you as spam for just any given person that you send out an email to. So you'll get kind of blacklisted, even if you send it to your target audience.
Yeah, so basically, when you're setting up an email marketing campaign, you need to set up a lot of different domains and a lot of different inboxes. And
Yeah.
without getting too technical, you have to like build a reputation. So there's best practices in terms of but let's just say for simplicity, you have 5 domains, each with 2 inboxes. So you have 10 inboxes you can send from. If you're sending to, and you can only send a certain amount of volume for each inbox. If you're sending to everyone without any level of precision, or even if you're sending to the right people, but you have a irrelevant offer, where you're not positioning yourself well and people are marking you as spam, if you get
Uh,
a certain amount of spam complaints, it'll burn the domain or the inbox, which means that basically future emails from that inbox will be moved straight to spam. So that's what I mean by burning their infrastructure. So that's where it's you really have to, and the filter is, and this is where it's you got to be precise because the line, it's so easy to burn infrastructure. Like you'll hear if you talk to any email marketing agencies, the ones that really succeed obsess about deliverability because it's all about getting in the inbox. So the best way to do that is to make sure you're reaching out to the right person at the right time with the right message and because otherwise the tolerance for the wrong email is very low. So people will mark you spam very, very quickly. That was one of the biggest challenges I had to overcome when I was starting is nailing deliverability. It's very hard to get right today.
yeah, no, this is already a great sales pitch from you because I'm already convinced that if it was something that I can play around with and try to figure out myself, but when I hear, oh, I might get blacklisted if I mess this up at first, it's like, let me trust an expert to do this for me and get me set up. So I like that. That's a
Yeah.
good selling point even for myself, So down the road,
All
I'll
right.
keep it in
Well,
mind.
sounds like we're gonna have to talk after this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. I guess yeah. Tell me about some of the industry players that you're working with. So you're starting a startup. I know you're still early phases, but are there people that you partner with or that you is there any regulation that you have to deal with? So certain legal entities you have to work with or anything like that?
I would say in terms of who I'm partnering with, so certain there's certain softwares that you need to use if you want to stand up yourself or as an agency if you want to stand up email marketing in campaigns. So there are certain softwares that you have to use, like for sending the emails, for example. Like it's where you house all the inboxes, it's where you send all the emails, it's where you receive all the replies. So I've been partnering with one of them, and the story is kind of funny with them is there's basically two major players. One of them is, let's call it iPhone type, where it's like it's very easy to use, it's very intuitive, but
Yeah,
it's less personalizable, less customizable, less features. And then there's one
sure.
that's like more Android. And I went the Android route, even though I love Apple and I have an iPhone. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to be able to plug into it, create a bunch of automations, super personalize it. I was gently and kindly bombarding their support
Uh-huh.
chat with questions. They ended up realizing that I was a growing agency because I just wanted to learn everything about it. But as
Right.
I was growing my own agency and asking a bunch of questions, they reached out, they realized I was scaling. I actually got to meet the head of product there, meet the CEO.
Nice.
So it's been really cool. They're awesome. They're called Smart Lead. They're fantastic. I've learned a lot from them, especially how important it is to get user feedback. Like I have a monthly call with their head of product and I can tell them
That's
all they
great.
want to hear the things that I think would be better. So it's really cool to shape the future of the product. That's one of the major players. But it's really cool once you start. It's not something I expected at all. Once you start going into actually an industry and learning about everything, and if you are like a nice person, the platforms you use, this can happen. Like and they're not the only one. There's like other platforms that I've just really started to use, and these great companies want to have me, like they want to be engaged with their users. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that's the best kind of relationship that you want to form with people. If it's mutually beneficial, you'll both just continue to help each other out, and it'll only
yeah,
be gain for both of you guys. I know
yeah.
there's a dentist in San Francisco that was just inundated with insurance calls, and so she would hop on a call with me weekly to just try to hash out, teach me about the insurance space, and then kind of tell me how the AI needs to talk to the insurance reps and all these details. So yeah, it's great to find someone like that that has your interests are aligned and that'll be
Yeah.
some of the best partnerships.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to grow with them. Like we're
Yeah,
in big scale mode and we literally had a call earlier today. We're working on some really, really cool things. Again, with
that's
AI,
awesome.
like agentic agents, agents replying to emails. It's a really cool space to be in.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you have a mentor that got you into this space? I mean, were you or was it more like you got a job at a college and then it happened to be in a certain space and so you kind of stuck with that? How did it turn into marketing?
So I'll answer the mentor question, but
Yeah,
I'll tell you how we kind of got here because I
sure.
think it ties in nicely. So, I know I mentioned that I had a lot of family friends who were business owners. So I was like, okay, I do want to own a business. I do want to start something one day. Years. I had no idea of what I wanted to do. I was like,
Right.
should I start a product? I couldn't figure it out. So eventually, about 2 years ago, I heard of someone called like Cody Sanchez, and she comes from private equity and she teaches people how to buy small businesses. And so I learned everything I could about micro private equity, buying small businesses. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, cool. So I was calling businesses from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single night and
Yeah.
to try to basically find businesses who are like willing to sell and
Oh, nice. Yeah.
appropriate in under the right deal parameters. And it was just super inefficient. And then I've always been like an operations guy, and I was like, there has to be a more efficient way to do this. So it's funny now in hindsight because I've done email marketing, or I've done, sorry, digital marketing at Amex, and then I did email infrastructure at Chase. It's funny how now I'm like, well, obviously I should have done email marketing, but I basically was looking at this problem and I said, there has to be a more effective way for me to reach out to businesses at scale. AI was just coming onto the scene. So I started tinkering with that, and because I really didn't want to be like cold email marketing where it's very cold. I was like, there has to be a way to do personalization. So I stitched together a primitive version of what I do now, and it was working. And I was explaining this to a family friend of ours who is an entrepreneur, like $100 million exit type
Oh
entrepreneur.
wow, nice.
And I was like telling him, I'm so excited, I'm gonna get these deals.
Yeah.
And he just was like listening. He's quiet, he's very stoic. He's quiet. He's like, mm-hmm. I finished it. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, I think you're an idiot. I'm like, why? And he's like, why would you use this to buy a business when you can use this to help businesses grow? So that's kind of
Uh,
where I started. And again, looking back, it feels so dumb that I didn't just start here. But when you talk about like who is a mentor of mine, like who inspired me, two people like very prominently come
yeah.
to mind, which is my brother was the entrepreneur of the family from day one. Like when he
Okay.
was in middle school, he's like, I'm unemployable. I will not work for anybody else. I will start my own thing. Throughout college, he was like starting business after business after business. And I saw him like so I thought it was so brave because he left corporate, he started his own company. It's doing great now, but he was always talking to me about entrepreneurship. So he kind of kept that
Yeah.
top of mind. So that was like a good mindset. And then Alex Hormozy, which I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he like blew up in the last 3 years in terms of teaching people how to tactically approach running a business. So I would say it's the pair of them, like my brother as my inspiration, as my best friend. We're always talking, like we call every day
That's
and
great. I love that.
talk about like business constraints and everything, but he gave me Alex Hormozy when he wrote his first book, $100 million offers. He gave me a copy, and for 3 years it sat on my shelf. And he was like, "Have you read it?" I'm like, "Uh-huh, not real, like a little bit." And then when I legitimately started building my own business, I opened it, and on the first page on the inside in Sharpie wrote, "Do big shit." And I was like, oh, he knows that I've been lying to him for years. But he was very, very happy. So kind of full circle, that's where it started. That's where we're at. So Alex Hormozy, my brother, not my brother more, like we talk so often, but
Right.
yeah, he's been really, really, I don't think I would be here without him. Let's put it that way.
That's great. Well, I love the brotherly entrepreneurship
Yeah.
relationship. That's pretty awesome. That's a great story to have and to tell people. You're growing. You're building the marketing, and you're partnering with the infrastructure company that you mentioned before. And so, where do you see this all going? Do you have an ultimate vision for what you want this to turn into? Is it just mostly about scaling this up and helping out businesses, or is there some other feature to this that we haven't talked about yet that you see, as a grand vision?
Yeah, I would say right now we're in growth mode. So
Right.
we have a product we
That's the
believe
yeah.
in, proven for agencies and B2B services. So we're working towards revenue targets right now. I would say the vision for the company is I want to take a different approach to agencies. I think a lot of people have a bad taste with agencies in the mouth because there's this like expectation of a 6 month churn. Like you email a bunch of people, you burn through the market, you're disappointed, you move on. For me, I
Hmm.
always want to approach it from a relationship first perspective. So my
Okay.
philosophy is I want to work with fewer clients and go deeper. And because of that, and because I build so much of the infrastructure from scratch per client in terms of like the AI models and of course the email infrastructure, but the modeling work is really where we can go deep and we can compound and iterate and really the benefits start to compound over months or over years. Is it hasn't been years yet, but that's the goal. But the vision for the company is I want to choose my clients very carefully and I want to supply constrain them. I want them to be in a position where they have so much demand that they then have to either
Oh, I
raise
see.
their
Yeah.
prices or they can choose who they want to work with. And that's a completely changed the power dynamic. I don't think a lot of businesses know what that feels like. I've been using my solution for myself to source business, and it's a completely different situation when you know that, okay, well, if this deal doesn't work, there will be the next one. So I'm just excited to help my clients grow, and I want to build this into a big agency. But again, keeping that perspective of few clients, deep relationships, and yeah, I really hope that I give my clients this feeling of abundance. I think if I do that, I'll feel really, really satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I hope to one day have a supply issue. That would be a great place to
It's
be.
a
So
great problem to
yeah.
have. Well, it's the and then Hormozy in me is like you then solve the next constraint. Once you're supply constrained, then you raise
Right.
or you expand your execution, but it's the biggest issue business. No business has ever died because they've had too much demand. And
Right.
I'm excited to give my clients that problem to
Yeah.
solve.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned kind of traveling up the chain there. Is that something that you thought about already? So you solved the problem of demand, and then they have a supply issue. Is that something that you thought about, or is that too far down the line? I don't know if we're venturing too far into uncharted
Oh
territory
no,
here, but you piqued my interest about that.
it's a good question. I would say the adjacent problem that I notice and I try my best to solve. I'm very much a person who's like, stay in your lane of this is what I
Uh,
do. It's like solve one problem for one like type of prospect, like through one solution or like one
right.
platform. And the biggest next thing that happens is like, great, you have a lot of deal flow, but you're not closing the deals. What I've done for some of my clients is I myself have learned how to sell, and I have frameworks that I use, and there's like videos. And when I started off, I was working with anyone who would, talk to me, obviously. And that was more solopreneurs or smaller entrepreneurs, and they themselves like hadn't built out their processes yet or hadn't figured out sales. So that is something that I've just shared. Again, like I really just I want to help my clients, and I hope that I'm like, listen, of the volume that I'm sending you now, hopefully you close more of it, and then you have like a delivery and execution. That will be the next bottleneck. But I think if you have an abundance of deal flow, and also if you like, one of the things that I always tell my clients is like, get as much money as you can up front, because then you can pay for like you can pay to solve that problem. If you have a bunch of deals and you can close them and you can get upfront retainers or upfront cash depending on how you structure your deal, now you're in a position where you're sitting on a lot of money, and that's very helpful because then if you need to execute, you can hire, you have the capital. So that's typically
I
how I
see.
like to structure. But literally the Hormozy books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads, $100 million money models. I recommend those three books, and I literally send them to my clients. I'm like, you need to fix your money model. Here you go.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check those out. I have to. Hey, if it's gonna make me $100 million, I'll take it. So,
What's crazy is, and I truly believe this, what Hermosi constantly says is any business permutation, unless you're literally trying to sell newspapers, but any business, when taken to the extreme, can become $100 million business. Like a nail salon, like how
right,
many nail salons are there? Franchise it, multi-location. There is a permutation of your business that can be $100 million. So it's really all about execution. I think execution and more, like volume. His whole thing is like
right.
more, better, new, and more is the first part. So just do more. Like, why can't you do more? And having more leads is a part of that problem, or is part of that equation, rather.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel like a big part of what starting a startup is like you do this experiment, this proof of concept to see, okay, can I have some exchange that makes money? I provide some service or product, and someone's willing to pay me money for that, and they don't feel bad about it. They feel good about it.
Yeah.
And then if that's true, it doesn't matter how small it is, then you scale it up. And that's sort of like
Right.
right.
Well,
That's what it is. Yeah.
yeah, or then you go up market. So like if you just keep scaling until you can't do any more for the amount, like if you have plenty of demand, you
Yeah.
can't do any more for the volume that you have. And then so you have to taper down that volume. So then you charge more.
Right.
It's a
Yeah,
very
that's a good
it's
idea.
a very interesting game. But 100% it builds in levels. So
And you kind of touched this already, but I was thinking if you do have that demand glut, then is there a way that with your AI algorithms you can zero in on well which one of these customers would be the best long term customer? That way you can choose
oh
the
yeah.
best ones, right?
Oh yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
so it's a very good point that you're bringing up. So one of the solutions that I was actually thinking about, and I moved away from this a little bit because I want to stay focused on until I'm doing $100,000 a month, like one product, one platform, one
right.
solution.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the scoring model that I use to determine how good of a fit someone is,
yeah,
so many applications. So this is where where I was like going deeper is important because okay, so let's say I get you leads in general. So I'm funneling leads your way, but then you're going to a conference. And so I can identify again social signals. I can find anybody else who's also going to that conference. And then I can score them saying, okay, there's 1,000 people going to this conference, or you're hosting a conference.
right.
There's 1,000 people coming. Who are the 10 that you need to meet with? Very easy. It's the same thing. It's just repurposed. So absolutely. There's a
Yeah,
permutation of this where if I say, okay, we reach out to, and again, it depends on the bit on your business model, but a if you have a offer that has this like super premium tier, maybe you don't want to do email marketing for those. You want to reach out manually. Like, who would you be willing to get on a plane or a train ride for? Okay, so we reach out to
right.
7 to 9 out of tens. We reach out to them by email. And then the 10 people a month that are 10 out of tens, I hand you on a plate. I'm like, here you go. And the
Yeah,
best part is I can do all the upfront work, like upfront research, like who they are, why they're a great fit for you, what your angle is. So there's a very real possibility that will be a future permutation that I can do for my clients, especially those who are lower volume, higher qual like higher value leads. So the volume
right.
of email marketing isn't as extreme. It's more like identifying the right people to reach out to. That's the name of the game, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it seems like a very natural move to like you said, it's the same thing, just applied in a different way. Is it to initially
Yeah.
get the leads, and then now you're just drilling down into the best leads. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and and what would you say will keep your product at the forefront of the industry? So I mean, of course, a lot of things that we've already mentioned are important key points, but are there other competitors doing similar things that you're worried about, and have you responded by like working out certain things, like certain moats around you? I know it's still early
It's a good
phases,
question.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I have so many thoughts about this.
yeah,
So one part is like the elephant in the room is AI is obviously the forefront of every industry right now. And a lot of
right,
companies are trying to incorporate AI into their processes. For me, where I feel confident is that when AI was coming onto the scene is when I was starting to build this company. So my entire methodology, all my systems are built around AI. And for example, the models that I built to identify the right people to reach out to, as AI models improve, so will my ability to identify nuance or different
right,
dimensions that I wasn't able to. So that's one part.
yeah,
Then the other part of this is in terms of what competitors are doing, there are some people I really look up to in terms of email marketing. And there's like a couple guys who, and
uh-huh.
I'm meeting with one. I'm so excited. I'm meeting with one of
Nice.
them tomorrow. He's truly like top tier. And I'm gonna ask him a billion questions. But I feel like I'm learning from him. There's like maybe 5 guys who are doing like really great email marketing
Yeah,
with really great targeting, leveraging the right variables, like doing it right, doing it precise, and it's hard to do it well. The good news is there's so much pie out there. Like I'm not concerned about competing with them because
right,
the people that need help is massive. And then there's everyone else who's running more, let's call it primitive email marketing, and that will become increasingly less effective over time. So I'm not really competing with them. So I'm not really competing with the people who are doing generic email marketing, and the people who I would be competing with, instead I'm like partnering with and learning from and admiring them. And there's so much market out there that like they can't help everyone.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, not yet at least. So yeah, I would say that's where my mind is at. And luckily it's very exciting to be riding this AI wave. And I think email marketing is only going to become more effective over time because with like, I mean, iOS 26, for example, call screening is going to be built in to phone calls. So I think cold calling is going to become less effective. Paid
okay.
media is getting super expensive and it's a zero-sum game. It's like, do you or do you not outbid everybody to get in the slot? So it's
Sorry,
an
which one's becoming more and more expensive?
paid media.
Oh, okay,
Like Instagram paid media, it's all you're bidding for. Do you or do you not get
right,
displayed? You have to
okay, yeah,
outbid everybody else. Whereas email marketing is, did you get in the inbox?
that's
And it's
true.
like,
Yeah,
if you get in the inbox, you have an impression, you have an ability to present your case, and then it's again, how clearly can you communicate your value prop, and can you do it in a way that is relevant?
yeah.
So I think I'm very bullish on email marketing in the near future.
Yeah, no, sounds extremely promising. And so the first point you mentioned was about how AI is going to continue advancing. How are you using a third party developer that you're working with to develop the AI, or are you
Yes.
yeah,
So yes and no. All my targeting models are my own. and a lot of my personalization models are my own. I
Okay,
am
yeah,
partnering with some developers for the fully email, like fully AI generated emails. It's because they have this expertise of their story, like without getting too far into it, they have a massive database of emails that have been sent and received. So they're able
okay,
to index against that. So their database is basically better than mine, and they've developed a really convincing solution, and I'm using it for myself right now. So I'm using both my own methodology as well as
yeah.
my targeting plus their basically execution. But and that will continue to improve. And I know the CEO, I know the CTO, so we're co-developing that solution. But yeah,
That's great. And are you allowed to say that company name, or is it under?
I would say it's a
Uh,
little bit under wraps
that's
still.
fine. That's
It's
fine.
not publicly available, but I'll mention
Gotcha.
Smartly because they're awesome and
Yeah,
everyone should use them, or they should use Instantly if they're a little less tech savvy.
yeah, yeah. I'll check them out. So for the models that you created yourself, is that do you dabble in coding too, or is it are you using a certain platform there, or
Yeah. So what a lot of people will know is who are in the space, Clay is basically it's like Excel on steroids. So you can bring all your data in and you can basically make API connections. So you can connect to different LLM models to
yeah,
do some processing as well as different databases for email validation or data source or sources of signals. So that's one. N8N is
and okay,
also it's an automation platform. So a lot of the automation and the data enrichment are done with those two platforms. And then I basically I build models with those two platforms primarily. Yeah.
that's great. That's really cool. So are you learning these skills just on the job, or you're just taking your own initiative and learning them, or
It's tons of YouTube videos. Like
tons of YouTube? That's great. Yeah,
it's all self-taught. It's all
yeah,
like yes, I've learned, Fortune 100 level strategies at Amex and I've understood how to build systems at scale at
right.
Chase for sure. Like I'm not
Yeah,
discounting that, but 99 or 95% of what I know about specifically email marketing from an agency perspective and like how to build AI agents and models
right.
and all this infrastructure is from people like the team at SmartLead, talking to them, watching
Yeah,
tons of YouTube videos. There are people who are experts. And again, this is the whole point of execution. Like at the end of the day, like there's so many people who watch these videos, but it's really can you stick with it, continue learning it, execute, and execution is the name of the game because there's only a few people like the one I'm meeting tomorrow who are very successful, and it's because they've stuck with it long enough and learned it enough. But it's all of it is self-teachable. Like you can 100% learn it all yourself.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
it takes
yeah. It's a
of
lot.
time. Yeah, like
Right.
full transparency, I almost didn't start this like when I was having a conversation with the family friend who was like, "You're an
Yeah,
idiot." I'm like, "Why would I like this is so easy. Anybody can do this." I fought him to the nail. I'm like, "There's no value in this. Anybody can do this." And he's like, "Why don't you? All right, like smarty pants. Why don't you go figure it out?" I kid you not, I spent 40 hours a week for 6 months like to learn infrastructure, to learn how to build model, like all of it, what tools to use, how to stitch signals together. It's so much.
yeah,
Do it right. Like you can do it very poor. Like you can send emails without like, and hopefully your infrastructure won't burn, but
right.
it is way more complicated than I thought, and it's you have to stay up to date. Like it takes all my shower time. Like I'm constantly thinking about
Yeah,
this because Google email service providers are changing their rules. Like you don't know what rules or conditions or parameters make an email go into spam. Like you don't know. It's
yeah,
a ton of testing. So yeah, again, it's now again in hindsight, I'm like, oh, this is so obvious. Obviously, it's useful to outsource this to somebody because they spend 100% of their time. They get economies of scale because I can partner with these different tools or developers or platforms and bring a solution. I also learn from other people, so you can combine all that knowledge together. But again, at the beginning, I was naive, and I'm like, there's no value here. I'm like, anybody can do this, and they can't. I
yeah.
I quit. I've almost quit multiple times. I think
Right.
that's the hardest thing is just
Yeah, if we knew how much work starting a company was going into
A
it, we might
hundred percent.
no one would start companies.
Yeah, the name of the game really is it's just staying in the game. Like I would
Right.
say the emotional, I think that's the biggest challenge to navigate. And I wouldn't honestly, as much as I'd like to think I'm very disciplined, and I am, I don't think I would have been able to do it or have been able to be as steadfast with it without my support network. Like without
Yeah.
my brother, without my girlfriend, without my parents, without my friends, they all really support me and they keep me on track. Like they keep me focused because it is a road of a lot of self-doubt. The amount of times I've almost quit because I either the enrichment costs for data were so high, I was like, This is no one will ever pay for this. It's so expensive." Or
Yeah.
deliverability I couldn't figure out. And I was just bashing my head into a wall for months on end. Yeah, it just staying in the game is the game.
Yeah, and I've discussed this with the previous guest, how it really is just like each time you wake up, you hit a new problem. That new problem just feels like it's insurmountable, even though you've
Yeah.
just you look back at the past few months. There's been multiple cases, many cases where you felt the same way, but then ultimately you overcame it. But then when you hit that new problem, it's like you forget about all that.
Oh, this
All of a
one's
sudden you
different.
think
Yeah, yeah.
this
This is
one's
the new Goliath.
insurmountable. There's no way, and at least that's how you feel, even if you logically know that you should be able to overcome it. Your
Yeah.
mind tricks you. So I completely agree that it's a huge mental battle just to be persistent. And of course, you're executing a lot better if you're persisting, continuing executing than if you're not executing.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
also you just compound your learning. Like it's just so many people, and this is where people don't win. Most ideas can work. It's just execution. It's
right,
literally just execution. The pie is big enough for everyone. For everyone has a skill that they can redeploy and make money with it. It's just doing, again, it's just doing the work day in, day out without seeing results, doing things for free. I was paying people in the beginning. I was like,
yeah,
"Can I do this for you?" And I would eat all the costs. And then when I couldn't eat any more costs, I would say, "Can you cover my costs? I'll do it
right,
for free." And I still do that to get new clients. I'm like, "Let me prove it to you. Like, we'll do a pilot
yeah,
and I will deliver for you. You'll just cover costs. I'll crush. Once I crush, then we can like you'll see the value and we move into a paid performance plan."
that's great.
But
Yeah.
yeah, staying in the game is the name of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned before that you're from Boston, but now you're in NYC. Was that more of a decision for a job to move here? And how's it
100%.
been? What's
American
that?
Express. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
I moved
yeah,
here for American Express. Yeah, yeah.
gotcha. And how's it
But
been
it's
doing a startup here, though?
it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
I did not utilize the New York network as much as I've been very like just heads down, grinding
Uh,
away. You were the first networking event I went to, and I'm so glad I met you because since that networking event was great, and I was blown away by I had like I think yeah, you were part of it. There was like a circle of people who were just interested in what I had to say. So I was like, oh my God, I've definitely been underutilizing in-person networking events. So I have one on Monday that I'm going to, and I have another one I think later next week. But I'm like, all right, 2 to 3 to 4 times a month, I will be going to a networking event. I've been fortunate to get some clients from that, but also just seeing what people are doing, just getting out there. You never know. You never know who you'll meet. But yeah, I definitely did not utilize the New York environment as much as I should have or could
yeah,
have.
yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you made it to my event, and I'm happy that it led you on to this event trail because I know a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when I first went to my event, I had the same feeling. It's like every person I talked to here has a huge insight that I would have gone
Oh
without
yeah.
knowing for so long, and yeah, so many connections. So especially if you're in the marketing space, you go to a marketing specific event, I'm sure it's like
Yeah.
incredibly helpful. So
Yeah, yeah, your entrepreneurship one was great. Like by far, yours has been the best. I will let you know if
well,
I find
thank
a
you.
better one, but I'm not even like overly buttering you. Truly, yours was awesome. Yours was so good. I can't wait until you have another one that is like more relevant for my audience.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, we
but
can co-host one if you want to, co-host a
okay.
marketing tech event. That could always be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We could do something where we like educate the audience. Like I'm happy to like talk about like and answer questions
Yeah,
like
I'm trying to get some of those together. Yeah. So
oh, definitely. Oh,
definitely.
100%. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
there. 100%.
Awesome.
I'm there.
All right. We'll talk later about that. I'm
Yeah.
excited
Yeah.
already. you've kind of already answered this, but if there's anything else to say, what makes this industry promising? You already said that the pie is so big, but is there anything else that makes this industry promising besides the huge opportunity?
I think it's a combination of AI is only going to get better.
Yeah,
So the people who are properly using it to identify the right people and to write a compelling message will only get better. And again, this return to basics. I think cold calling is going to become less effective, or the people that you're using to have like people, the benefit of people is for sales conversations. So scaling email marketing is by far the most effective email marketing channel. So use that as a
oh yeah,
channel so that you funnel volume to your sales reps who should be closing. Cold calling is going to get more challenging. So paid media is a great strategy. Like
yeah,
B2C, paid media.
yeah,
B2B, paid media, sure. Like do multiple things, but email marketing is definitely a killer strategy. And I think it's just people have a poor taste of email marketing in their mouth because they get
right,
spammed so much. Like
right,
I'm now getting spammed, but now I'm interested because I'm always like interesting. Like I like to see
right.
what
Yeah, you can see,
but
you can, yeah,
all the founders I talk to, all the CEOs I talk to, they're like, I get bombarded with emails and I hate it. Like, why is yours different? I'm like, well, here's why it's different. And the great thing about me is like I sell myself through the email. I'm like, you responded to my email. Like you are a proof case of like why this works.
right,
But
right,
yeah, I think there's a lot of poorly done email marketing because it's easy to be a spammer. It's
right,
hard to do it well. And I think there's some people doing a really great job and I admire them and I'm learning from them, but I think it's a very, very promising industry. And email is, at the end of the day, it's the most used business like platform. You're in it all day.
yeah.
It's the mode of business communication, so it's not going anywhere. Yeah.
That's great. And just to move into challenges. So any startup, as we've discussed, if anyone knew how much work it was, they likely wouldn't start it. But what's been the toughest thing so far that you've ran into that's really just had you at the end of your wits with what to do next, emotionally, physically, everything?
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, I mean, I mentioned this, but the because my model, like my methodology is so data intense, the costs are so high. And I was just looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, no one's gonna pay for
Yeah.
like I was like, I can't get my costs under control because to do all the enrichments I wanted was just so expensive. That was probably the closest I've gotten to quitting because I'm like, I just can't do this. Eventually I found a way to basically you break a complex ask into a lot of small asks, but the you can use smaller models to do these smaller asks, and
Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah.
one hundredth of the cost or one tenth of the cost. So you run something 10 times, and it might come out to one tenth of the cost if you asked a more complicated model to do it once. So that was the way around that. So tip for anyone who's
Okay.
listening.
When you say asks, is that what is an ask in
Oh,
this case?
like a prompt. Like if you're asking, like if I like I want you to go and fetch, or so there's sometimes that you're fetching information, sometimes you're having it do cognition, like reason through something, rationale through something,
Okay.
and it's rationale. But like when you and I think, oh yeah, that's the right decision. Why? Like you have to break that down and go like, okay, like give a certain weight to this variable, give a certain weight to this variable, consider this, yes or no, that like there's multiple dimensions and the model
Oh,
AI
okay.
models are
Yeah.
getting more advanced where you can just say like, is this a fit? And it might say yes, but the cost to the brain power to do that when you run that times thousands, tens of thousands, or hundred thousands of leads, multiple different things you have to consider, it's an exorbitant cost. It gets
Okay.
scales
So they,
so
yeah, those multiple asks kind of multiply against each other versus if you break them down, it's just finding out that one ask and then that kind of is that is am I understanding that correctly?
kind of, yeah. So like if I say, hey, evaluate this business and see if it's a good fit for
Yeah.
like my like you run a is this a prospect a good fit for my dental automation solution?
Yeah.
That is a well, one, it's very vague. You have to, but let's say like you give it more parameters. If you ask it like a yes or no question and you give it a more advanced model, it will reason through it and it will be like yes or no, but it will cost you, let's call it, I don't know, half a cent.
Yeah.
Versus if I said like, okay, I'll run a smaller model that can't do that computation, but I can run it against more, like I'm like, check this thing, check this thing, check this thing, and
I
then
see.
bring them
Yeah.
together. And then, but each of those things costs a hundredth of
Yeah.
the other one. So even if you have to run 10 of them, it still comes out to 1/10 of the cost. And
Right.
again, like, oh, who cares about half a cent? You do when you
Yeah.
have to run that thousands of times
Sure.
and maybe multiple different things per lead per client. So it's like half a cent times thousand times four or times 10 scales very, very quickly.
No, no, yeah, absolutely. And so when you have each of your broken down smaller s for the smaller models, and they give you the answer, are you feeding those answers into another model, or are you just looking at those
Yeah, yeah,
answers?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You
So
are.
sometimes you
Okay.
research, sometimes, yeah, there's ultimately like you can cluster. So like if let's say there's 10, let's say there's 20 dimensions I considered, maybe the first five I cluster into like one data point or one decision point. Maybe I then have some overlap, two from here, 10 from here. And then
Okay.
sometimes it's because you want to make a decision on do I or do not I not reach out to this person.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay, I am going to reach out to this person, but where do I classify them? Are they I'll just do a very simple example. I do want to reach out to this person. I also want to classify them as a B2B or a B2C company. That's a very simple one, but there's
Okay.
more complicated considerations that you need to do. So yeah, a lot of times it's like getting all the information is part of it, and then it's how are you combining and using that information to make sound decisions, and are you being efficient with how you're thinking about that? Because yeah, you could get a bunch of different answers, but like, what are the actual answers you need in order to make a decision and in order to classify the lead properly and in order to reach out? Like,
Yeah.
that's where it gets complex.
Okay. Yeah. No, there's really a lot of domain knowledge there. I can tell that you would need to be in the industry to understand to actually implement this stuff. But
Or watch hundreds of hours, thousands of
yeah,
hours.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get watching to
I
improve
know.
my marketing skills. And yeah, last up here, what would you say is the most valuable insight, or you can say one or multiple, whatever you have, that you would give to someone else who's trying to start a startup? It could be in this space or just in general, up to you.
Yeah, I think the three things that I would say come top of mind is one, oh, we talked about this, like don't stop. It is
Right.
a marathon. So much of it is staying in the race, and I will steal this. I did not come up with this, but Hormozy says business is truly like a marathon in the fact that you will get applause at the beginning and you will get applause at the end, but that's not running the marathon. The marathon is a 27 miles in
Right.
between. You are on your own and just doing the work. So 100% one is stay in the game. Two is have a support system. Maybe you can do it alone, but you will doubt yourself at times.
Yep.
I've been very intentional. I've been very fortunate, but also very intentional with who I've curated around me. And the people around me keep me focused. My wins are their wins. Like they don't take I don't take
Mhm.
anything away from them. Like they truly just want to see me succeed. And yes, part of that is good fortune, but part of it is again is also intentional curation. Choose very wisely the people that you have around you because they will influence you, and I don't think I could do this. I know actually I know I couldn't do this alone. Like without my brother, without my girlfriend, it's maybe I could do, it, but it's way way
Yeah.
harder. It's a lonely road. It's a lonely road anyways, because the amount of work you have to do. And then the last thing I'll say is, well, again, where it's comical is work backwards from a problem, especially if you're trying to start a business. You're employed most likely for a set of skills. You could probably repurpose those skills and solution it for other people. So work backwards from a problem, and then listen to feedback. Again, smartly, they want so much of my feedback. I've learned to use that myself to get feedback from my own clients about what they actually care about. But I think if you don't stop, if you set up a support network that is really bolstering you, helping you, who are happy for your wins, who keep you moving forward, and who make you better, and then if you work backwards from a problem and get feedback, you're going to succeed. Like it's just those three things. There's no version that doesn't succeed. It's because the bar is so low. So many people quit so early. They can't do a year of work without result. They need to see results in 30 days. It's not going to be the case if you want to build something sustainable and big.
Definitely. And I think those 3 points were just, incredible points. Just from my own experience, I know yeah, it is a long road, and it's funny. The number one thing that everyone says is persistence. I ask that question every interview, and
Yeah.
I'd say 9 out of 8, 8 or 9 out of 10 times it's persistence. And So that's clearly, the the
It's it.
overwhelming
It's
factor.
literally if you do nothing else, you can be mediocre. You can
Yeah,
have a shitty product,
right,
and if you just stuck to it, it would get better. Like everything improves over time. Like if you just did that, anyone who succeed has done it 1,000 times.
right. It's like, can you at any given point see, is this, if I go this direction, option A, is
Yeah,
it better than option B? And if you can tell that difference, then you can improve something. And if you keep improving it over
100%.
time, then that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
So,
most people won't like if you do something like 1,000 times. I'll end with this. This is the
yeah,
best. This is the best way to capture the story for this point. There is a story about a pottery class teacher. Have you heard this? Do you know
no,
this? Okay, I'm excited to tell you. There's a story about a pottery class teacher, and he ran an experiment, and he said he's divided the class into two sections, and he told one half, he said, your only job is to make the most perfect pot. Make one pot. That is your entire job this semester. And he told the other class, your only job is to make as many pots as humanly possible.
hmm
And the group that did the quantity, their pots were so much better. Quantity itself takes on a quality of its own.
yep,
Think about an army. Like you have an army big enough, it itself has a quality of
exactly.
intensity of intimidation of all of it. So just doing more, better, new. That's a Hormozy thing. Do more, and then after you've done all that you can more, do it, make it better, and after that, then you do new. New is like the last thing you should do. It's the more and better are better risk adjusted returns. Just staying in it and doing it, you'll make amazing pots eventually.
Couldn't think of a better way to close things out and wrap things up. Yeah, if you're picking from 1,000 things versus you're picking from one thing, I mean, the best from 1,000 things is going to be better than the best from one thing. It
Yeah.
makes complete sense.
Naturally will improve over time with
Right.
it with
You
reps.
keep doing that. You iterate.
Yeah.
You choose the best each time, and there you
So,
go. That's it. Well, Aaron,
this is
it's been
great.
it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I'm so glad I've enjoyed the conversation, but I've definitely learned a lot. I mean, there's no question that I now have a new lens into the marketing space, into the
Yeah.
emailing space that I didn't know much about before. So I thank you
Yeah.
for that, and
I
it's great talking.
pleasure. This was great. And for anyone who's listening, I hope at least if you end up going to an email marketing agency, hopefully this information helped you know what to ask for. Like ask about their processes, ask about deliverability, ask about how they're thinking about targeting, ask about personalization. Like these are all things that if they can't articulate to you, they're gonna just spray and pray. They're just gonna spam people. They're
Uh,
gonna it's just not a good combination. So I'm happy to help. This was really, really fun. This was my first podcast, so
hey,
thank you for having me.
yeah, absolutely. I'll have you a year from now when you scale even bigger.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Absolutely. And I'll see you at your next networking event.
Absolutely.
All
All right,
right.
great talking.
Great seeing you. Talk to you later.